On March 24th of 2005, we had just finished the evening shift at the hospital. We are both nurses there, and it was a very stressful night. So after work, we decided to take a ride around the reservoir because it's beautiful this time of year, since the trees are still bare, and you could see the moon reflecting off the waters. We first went down to Route 6 to get a quick bite to eat and noticed how clear the sky was. There was a full moon in the sky, and it was very bright. Next to the moon, there was this bright star-like object that was changing color from red to blue to green. I pointed the star out to Beth, and although it looked strange, we didn't think too much about it. We then got back into the car and headed toward the reservoir. When we came to a clearing, we noticed that the star had moved and shifted its position. It was no longer near the moon. It seemed to be following us. At that time, Beth said it was only a plane and not to worry. You see, we hear about all the UFO sightings in this area, and I have to admit we were a little spooked when the star started moving in the sky. We turned down Reservoir Road and heard a buzzing sound, which got louder and louder. I thought there was something wrong with the car, so I stopped and pulled over to the side of the road. I turned off the engine and we got out of the car, but the noise was still there and it was vibrating our heads. At that moment, Beth said, "There's that light in the sky." This was freaky since the light was right over our heads. As we looked at it, the light seemed to be getting lower and lower, and I could tell now it was about 6 lights in the shape of a triangle. We jumped back into the car, but the car would not start. Then all of a sudden, off to the right in the woods, we heard a sound like an army was marching through the brush. We looked and saw the outlines of about 10 or more things that had glowing red eyes. Beth screamed and said, "What the hell is that?" But all we could see were these outlines in the dark, partially illuminated by the moon, with 2 red eyes on each of them glowing like hot coals. I finally got the car started, and when I pulled into gear, it bucked and hesitated as if it was going to die. I prayed to God, "Please don't let the car die." Beth was screaming that the creatures were all around us. I told Beth to lock the doors. By now, at least 8 of these creatures were around the car. They were as high as the top of the windows on the car, and dressed in hoods and tight black-like jumpsuits. Their faces were dark and their heads were round, but what really scared us were the eyes. They glowed red. They were trying to get into the car, I think to take us. Finally, the car stopped hesitating and we sped away. I looked back in the rearview mirror and saw the creatures and the UFO were gone, like they just vanished into thin air. While the creatures were around the car, we didn't notice the object in the sky, most likely because we didn't look since we were both terrified of what was taking place. We arrived at home about midnight, and we both live alone, so we spend the night at my place wondering if we should call the police. We finally did, and the desk officer talked to me like if I was crazy or drunk and laughed, so we decided not to say anything to anyone else. That night, and the nights to follow, were terrifying for both of us, because we thought that the creatures would find us and finish what they were trying to do, and that was to take us to their ship. Since that close encounter, Beth and Kathy did not have any more sightings, but they had strange dreams of being taken out of their home by creatures with red eyes and being taken into some type of room where they were placed on a table. Both women had similar dreams, and I advised them to seek help from a psychologist that I work with, who treats people who experience trauma from paranormal experiences. This case is still open, and I hope to have more information soon.